Hello, this is Michael Sullivant, and I'm here this morning with Reverend Kitty Wilder. And Kitty and I have been doing some chats, about 5 minutes long, about the big six emotions, they're sometimes called. And our brains are hardwired for these emotions. And also, I just want to say before we start that we want to encourage you to go to our website, which is lifemodelworks.org, and there's a free resource there that's called Joy Changes Everything, and it is a fabulous resource. So take a look at that when you go to our website. So good morning, Kitty.
Good morning, Michael.
This has been fun for us to do these chats. And
yes, it's been a fun experience.
yeah, it's kind of new for both of us to get on video and kind of shop these things out to the world.
But it's great to be able to share this information with people because it's really valuable and it's really transformed my life.
Yeah, and mine too. So we have already talked, kind of done an overview of the six big emotions, and then we talked about sadness, which is about losing some source of joy. We talked about fear, which is a threat that we feel we must escape somehow. And so now we are dealing with anger. So these big six emotions are hardwired into our brains. We can't stop them from happening.
Right.
There's some redemptive reasons why we experience them, and that God can use these interrupters of relational joy that happen in our lives to help us build brain skills, relational brain skills, and new neural networks to get back into that joy and peace rhythm that we need to be mature people. So now we're going to plow into the whole experience of anger. So go for it. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, anger is something that we want something to stop. And so if we can join in and be glad to be with somebody to find out what it is that they want to have stopped. And so oftentimes, particularly with children, parents will send them to their room and tell them, you stay there until you know how to be nice. Well, no one has joined them in finding out what it is that they're angry about, that they want to have stopped. And then the child doesn't learn how to be glad to be with somebody in the midst of that negative emotion. And so they're stuck. They have to stuff it. They have to do something with it to be able to get to a place where, okay, maybe I can come out being sad, and then people can be glad to be with me. But we need to learn how to join people in finding out what it is that they need to have stopped and be glad to be with them in the midst of that emotion.
And sometimes people don't have those experiences as children when someone was glad to be with them in something like anger. And so actually, as adults, we can serve one another and help each other mature and become more like Christ by being that person who is glad to be with someone even though they're angry. And that can sometimes be a challenging thing for us, right?
It can be quite scary being with somebody who's angry and violent at the same time. But if we can be able to join them and find out, what is it you're so angry about? That helps make it a little more understandable to us.
Yes. And then when we also hear each other's stories about how we've done that your story can become my story and load it into my being so that I can access that when I'm suddenly with someone who's angry. It's like, oh, I remember Kitty's story. And now I have something to draw upon that helps me be mature in that situation.
Right. Yeah. And I'll tell you a story about a time when I was angry. And sometimes we tell our stories in being glad to be with somebody, returning to joy. But this story I'm going to tell you a little bit differently because it's training level 4 in our brain, and it's more about what it's like me to do. And so I didn't really join anyone in being glad to be together, but I acted like who God made me to be. So I was in a grocery store, and I had taken a lady shopping, and I asked her just to sit and rest a minute because I saw something quite disturbing to me. I saw some grandparents that had a stick, and they were hitting their grandkids. Didn't like that at all, and wasn't going to sit by and let that happen. So I went up to the grandparents, and again, I was in a grocery store, so I was surrounded in a safe place somewhat with other people around. And so I told him, I said, that's not appropriate. It's not like us to hit our children and to hit the kids. And they said, well, you don't know what these kids are like. They really deserve this. And I said, no, no child deserves to be hit like that. So what's like me to do is to protect those children. So I followed them all the way through the grocery store, up one aisle, down another aisle. And I was at a distance, and the grandparents would kind of keep looking back and seeing if I was still there. And so did the kids. But I think the kids really appreciated my, speaking up for them. Once they left the grocery store, I have no idea what happened, but my body was able to start settling down, because once I had seen them acting like that, my body just got inflamed, and it's like, no, I cannot stand to see those children being hit like that. And then once they left, I was really sad, but I was like, I don't know, I just prayed protection for those children. But it was like me to go and protect those kids and speak up and not let it just happen.
Yeah, so one of the goals of regulating these kinds of emotions is to learn about who we truly are and be our authentic self. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is
Who
like
God made us to be.
like this. And we see that in scripture too, don't we, with Jesus, where Jesus became angry. I remember the story of him being angry when he was in the synagogue, and there was a man with a withered arm, and there was a rule that a man-made rule that you couldn't heal on the Sabbath.
Yes.
Jesus was angry about this, and so somehow he experienced the anger, but then, like you were saying, he acted like himself, which was to stand up. Yeah, to be a healer. He stood up against the man-made rule, and then he healed the man by the power of the Holy Spirit and acted like himself. So,
yes, yeah. One other story I'd like to tell too is about how learning how to synchronize with somebody. When we synchronize an emotion with somebody, we share and match their level of intensity of emotion. We share, and we're synchronizing really our blood level, our blood flow and temperature rate and our heartbeat rate, all those things that go on in our body. And so let me tell you a little story about a time when Jim synchronized with me and really helped diffuse my anger. His father was living with us for a number of years, and I would take him to the eye doctor appointments for his glaucoma. And when we got there, it was always difficult to get him in the car, get him to the appointment. He was in his mid-90s. And so we got there, and they told me that my appointment was not here. It was at another clinic. Well, we had never been to that other clinic. So I was very angry that they mixed that up. And I was going to have to go through this again. So I gritted my teeth, and it was like, okay, I know you're not the one to be angry at, but I'm really frustrated with this situation, and I don't want to have to do this again. So I went back and told my father-in-law that we didn't have an appointment. We had to go home. Well, he laughed. That infuriated me more. Blood curdling and my back just stiffened. And so we got home and got him in the house, and I went and I found my husband, and I said, this was such a frustrating trip. And so I, told him what happened, and he matched my intensity. He said, yes, it is so frustrating trying to get Dad in the car, get him to his appointment, get him out, get him, settled, get all those details. And he says, yes, that is so frustrating. And when he was matching my level of intensity, it's like, somebody understands me. And it just diffused the anger. I was just able to okay, somebody understands. And so I was not angry anymore.
That's amazing.
So it's a valuable tool to be able to share that with somebody to, synchronize their emotions.
When we have these negative emotions, it might be hard for somebody to be with us if they're not mature. But if they are mature, then they're able to validate what we're experiencing. And the validation helps us remember that we're not alone, that there are people that have our best interests at their heart, level. And then we can overcome these things and return to the relational joy.
Yes. Yeah. In some of the other emotions I've read you kind of like what it means to be together. And so anger, I need to protect myself and make it stop. When I feel anger, I want someone to be with me. When I feel anger, I want you to share this experience with me. And that's the synchronizing. When I feel anger, I want to jump around. When I feel anger, I want to shout and scream. There's all this adrenaline going. When I feel anger, I want to hit and pound. When I feel anger, I don't want to be alone. When I feel anger, I don't want to be sent away to my room. When I feel anger, I don't want you to tell me I'm terrible and naughty. When I feel anger, I want you to look in my eyes. When I feel anger, I want you to be glad to be with me. And now I can quiet myself. Such valuable things there to consider.
Yes. Well, this is great, Kitty. I want to tell all of our friends out there to go to our website, which is lifemodelworks.org. There's a free resource there that is developed by your husband, Dr. Jim
Yes.
Wilder. And it's a great resource called Joy Changes Everything.
Yes.
And people are surprised sometimes to find out what true joy is, because it's not about being giddy and happy all the time. It's about not being alone and knowing that
glad to be with someone.
we're glad to be with someone.
Only
They're glad to be with
relational.
us. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. We'll pick up again for another chat very soon.
Okay.
Have a great
Thanks.
day, Kitty.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.